Wednesday, May 3rd. Will you please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance, which is in front of us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we're here tonight for a special meeting, and may I have item 2.2, approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Trejo and seconded by Mr. Lemon. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item passes 4-0 with one absence. Allison, yours is not with us today. Item 3.01, open public hearing, revision number 3 to the fiscal year 22-23 annual expenditure budget. Mr. Thompson, the floor is yours.
President Windsor, members of the board, thanks for having me tonight. Thanks for scheduling the meeting. I was a little worried at first when you canceled it, like we got to do it before May 15th. So that's why we're here. It's just to revise the budget. And we've already spent most of it and encumbered it. So it's not really like we're revising what we're going to spend. It's more of revising the budget formula and the budget forms that get sent to the state for the funding side of it. So that's more of what the revision is all about. Just matching it up with the current year enrollment, because the funding is current year. So as of the changes up until the 100th day, our funding changes, and this is as the 100 days is up, we have the final numbers and changes. So as I was saying, it's that first 100 days of school that the ADM is based on. So that's why we're changing it. So our ADM, our average daily membership, what we get paid on, decreased by 36 since the revision in December, and 329 since, I'm going to call it the original budget, but if you remember, we kind of had placeholder budgets in June because the state hadn't really given us how much we were going to have, and so then we did a special revision in August. So since that August one, our ADM has reduced 329 since then. So for context, the reduction of 329 ADM is $1.5 million. Pretty good chunk. Of the 36 ADM is 170, so that 170 is included in the 1.5, so it's not doubling there, but it's still a lot. And so the revision is just changing the formula on the budget sheets to reflect that lower funding amount. It should be bigger, but it's not. So that's just the graphic form of, okay, this was the total weighted ADM for that period, for the December, and the revision right after the legislature passed it, the 329 reduction and the 1.7 million, or 1.57 million reduction. And so if you can see that, the graph on the left is our ADM over the last few years, starting in FY18, coming through to FY23. And then the one on the right is the weighted ADM. So you see this past year, it actually perked up a bit. And so that was not because of an increase in students. That's because they added the free and reduced poverty weight, and they increased substantially the special ed weight. And our district has high populations of both of those categories. So even though the overall enrollment decreased, the weighted ADM did go up because of the increase in the weight. So that's a good thing, but it'd be just so much higher if we just were even flat on our unweighted ADM. It'd be a lot more. And then just real quick, next year, feel like we could just have the meeting from last year. We're waiting on the legislature for actual numbers about what we're going to get. Minimum of a 2% funding increase to the base. So by state law, the legislature has to increase 2% or inflation, whichever is lower. Inflation is higher than 2%, so we'll get at least 2% on there. So then in June, we will have a proposed budget at the first meeting and the adopted budget at the second meeting, because we don't have any meetings in July. So just put that on your radar, on your agenda for that. So that's what's going to be coming up. So that is it. Again, it's just the budget formula side. We've already spent pretty much everything. It's just the funding formula has to be done by May 15th, so that's why we're here. So that's all. If you got any questions, comments, I'd be happy to.
Any questions from the board or comments? Mr. Lemon?
Yeah, I'm looking at the attachments where it talked about the different summary sheets and those sort of things. It appeared that we had substantial increase in the salaries for the teachers,
Yep.
and then 5% for the administrators over the previous budget.
Well, everyone at this for this past year compared to previous year got the 10% increase in their actual budget.
Okay.
For the actual budget forms,
The total amount.
that's just filling it in more than anything. There's the staffing side and the budget, and these are budget formulas or budget sheets that really we have to budget to capacity, even if we're not going to spend that. Because if you budget to capacity, then if you don't spend it, it rolls over to the next year. So you want to always, on these forms, budget to the very maximum you can, even though we're planning on actually rolling some of that money over. So those increases might not be real increases, but the real increases were the 10% for everyone, plus the teachers had, was it 2,000 or 4,000 to the base on there as well. So they would have increased substantially from last year.
Well, and that's what I saw, the average
Yes.
was from 50 to 60,000,
Right.
so that's a substantial amount. And then I didn't quite understand the line items on desegregation budget, the previous year and the current year. I thought there was a blank in there, or I just don't remember.
Okay. I can, if you have specifics, I can look into that one. I can bring up the computer maybe after the rest of it.
Yeah, well, we're still using our desegregation budget.
Yes. Yes.
And
Every penny of it this year.
Okay, and we're still getting that money from the local taxpayers?
Yes. That is locally levied tax to the Tempe Elementary citizens.
Thank you. And that's, what, around 14 million?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lemon. Ms. Trainer?
Thank you, Madam President. So I've seen the timeline, the proposed budget should be the first meeting this year, right? And hopefully by the second meeting, we could have a fully adopted budget. But as, you know, people who follow the legislature, there's been some back and forth. What can happen if there isn't agreed upon budget between the governor and the legislature?
So they have a state law saying if there are changes that the legislature enacts after you've done the budget, you have up until September 15th to do a budget revision that faces the new numbers that the legislature passes. So that's what we did last year, is we kind of had all right, this is the budget with the current numbers, and then we revised it, I want to say in August, or probably the first meeting in August, because we don't meet in July. And so that's what we do. We have it up until September 15th, I believe, to do the revision.
All right, I have just a couple of questions. First of all, is the ADM decrease that you listed, the 1.57 from the 320 some odd kids, and the 170,000 from the 36 kids, is that weighted ADM or non-weighted?
It would be the weighted. So that's we get paid on the total weighted funding, or total weighted ADM. So the decrease of 329 is the weighted ADM. So the different weights for the poverty, the special ed, even K3 has different weights. So that's the total end result that would be paid on the 329.
And would you mind advancing to the two-line graphs that you had where you showed the weighted?
Yep.
So looking at the last 6 fiscal years, we can see that we've had a dramatic decrease from where we were in 2020.
Correct.
So are we looking at maintaining that decline, or is it expected? I don't remember the demographer's estimate about if that ever levels out in the next few years. Do you recall that?
I don't remember if it levels out, but the last demographic study we had was pre-COVID, and I think that accelerated a lot of stuff. So I'm not sure how accurate it is anymore anyway, to be honest with you.
Okay. And that would lead to my next question, which is, how often do we do demographic studies? Is that something that the district engages in on a regular basis, or is that something that randomly we say, oh, it's time for a new study?
We haven't done one since I've been here, but I think we did one right before I got here in 2018 or 2019. So
Yeah,
I don't know that answer to that.
I would say if the district has a demographer, it's done regularly. If they don't, it's really whenever the district chooses. I think for us, it's something that we should look at for this next year. Starting this year, contracting out, because the numbers there, I think we would like to have an idea of what should we expect for the coming years. Are we bottoming out? Because that'll have budget implications for the next coming years, or if they predicting we're going to drop even more, that you guys have that information, because it will have ramifications on our budget.
Yeah, just for budget projections, I'm assuming next year another 2% decrease in ADM, just because that's been the trend, but that's an educated guess. Demographers would probably have a better educated guess than me.
So how do we go about engaging a demographer for us?
We'll have it on the next agenda.
Great, that's what I was hoping to hear. Thank you very much, Dr. Driscoll.
And I would tell you there are other districts, high school districts in our surrounding area that did a report, I want to say last year, because I was on their board docs looking, because it has some ramification for our boundaries to see what they're saying. So you can get a prelim of some parts of our district area with the high school district.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the board? Mr. Thompson, anything you want to add?
Nope.
Okay. All right, item 3.02, we're going to close the public hearing. May I have a motion to do so?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Trejo and seconded by Mr. Lemon. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item passes 4-0. Thank you very much, Mr. Thompson. I'm going to wait. We're going to wait about 3 minutes. Okay.
Can I go to the restroom?
Yeah. We'll take a 3-minute break. We'll take a 3-minute break for Dr. Driscoll. Now, 5:30. So item 4.01, may we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Trejo and seconded by Mr. Lemon. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item passes 4-0. Mr. Mangini.
All right, thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Driscoll. I'm very excited to have an individual here this evening who was just approved on the personnel summary. Tonight you approved Brenda Vargas as the Director of Student and Community Engagement. I'm going to share a little bit of her background, and then I'll let her come up and say hello and introduce you to her family. But a little bit about her background. Brenda holds a bachelor's degree from Cleveland State University in special education, a master's degree in educational administration, also from Cleveland State University. She began her career as a special education teacher in Ohio. We won't hold that against her. But
Let's say if it was Ohio State, we would have said no.
She continued on working as a school counselor, dean of students, athletic director, direct instruction specialist in the secondary education, assistant principal of Hamilton High School, and in her current role, she is currently the director of counseling and social services for the Chandler School District. She brings a wealth of experience. She brings an excitement about the job, the joy in the work that she does, and she's extremely excited to be part of our team. I told her I wanted to read one little piece that was on her resume that I thought resonated, and it came from a former administrator. Brenda is an outstanding administrator. Outstanding administrators are energetic, flexible, have vision, like working with people, are lifelong learners, and are dedicated to the educational profession and all that it entails. Brenda loves kids and is totally dedicated to help them be successful. Brenda is everything and has everything needed to become an exemplary school administrator. So I think that speaks volume. She's an exceptional person that we're excited to have part of the team, and I'd like to welcome her. So come on up, Brenda.
Good evening, Madam President, governing board members, Superintendent Dr. Driscoll, community. just a few words to share that I wanted just to express today. I am really humbled and thrilled to be joining the TD3 family, and it definitely feels like family already. As a Latina, family is everything to me, which is why it was fitting for me to bring my family here today to formally accept the position. Please know that I promise to this community to serve with all my heart, to always stay rooted and anchored in what students need. I look forward to meeting and getting to know each and every single one of you and all the amazing people that make up the TD3 family. And I am just so grateful for this opportunity, so thank you. Yeah, so my husband, in which his love and support, and this wouldn't be possible without him, my mom, my son, who is currently ASU, and as you can tell from the pink hair, having a good time in his final year. And then my bonus son, Sammy, who is also an ASU student, and missing a few family members that weren't able to be here today, but they're just as thrilled and overjoyed for this new adventure for me to be part of this community, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Rainey. Thank you, Brenda. We're happy to have you on board, and I appreciate that you and Dr. Uxa coordinated your jackets. Very cool.
I was like, whoa, how did this happen?
Okay, item 5.01, discussion, consideration, and possible approval of the fiscal year 23-24 Tempe Group Insurance Fund, TGIF, contribution rate, and the other insurance modifications. Do we have any questions or comments about this? Ms. Trejo.
I have a lot of questions, but if someone can give us a preview of why this is happening right now. I think I read somewhere that they met March 3rd. I definitely have a lot of questions, so want to address how come we're having a conversation right now. Is there like level of urgency that we need to approve this now?
So, open enrollment, if it's basically now, we have it at the May 18th meeting or May 17th. But the last day for many employees is the day after that. So to have them still on contract, we wanted to make sure that we had it now to get it in before they're going. They have until I think June 16th for open enrollment to sign up. But the worry is once school's out and they're gone, they're not gonna go and do that. So that's why we had to get it here rather than on the next meeting.
Yeah, thank you. I was just wondering because obviously increases are really difficult for anybody, and an employee is $0 to $30. Every other district, not every other district, but most districts that I'm aware of pay 100% employee contributions at the very least. So that for me was kind of really concerning. And I know there's probably good reasons why that is, but I know several years ago, Mr. McGinney, I don't know how many years when we decided to self-insure. What year was that?
Oh gosh, 2015, 14, 15.
And at the time it was a really good, for everybody, but have we explored looking at other options that are out there? Because I know other districts, they have 100% employee funded insurance. Have we explored looking through a broker to have different quotes so that the raise isn't as significant? And again, I know nationally that raise has, from what I was told, anywhere sometime from 14 to 22% been increasing. Yeah. So that I'm aware of, but have we explored other options?
We've started discussing it and looking into it, but not in it's a process that would take a very long time to switch the insurance over. So I've started some discussions on it, but not anything to say, okay, we can flip the switch, because it would be a major lift to get that done.
The plan as well, from the 30,000-foot view of it, the plan is healthy. The plan is working well. It's just that everything's more expensive. Some of the high claims that we've incurred are significant, and we haven't addressed it over the course of, since being self-insured, we've kind of protected that. Let's shield it from the employee, shield it from the employee, shield it from the employee, and it's kind of slowly done this. And so that's the recommendation with our consultant was, we need to address it one way or the other. So,
And I know, like, again, urgency time, you
Yeah.
know, we gotta make sure that we do what we need to do now, but definitely, I think if we can, Dr. Driscoll, and to our, you know, insurance group and with our, you know, IBN team as well, you know, get a broker, get some quotes for next year if we can, to see, like, is this still the best plan for our district and for our employees? Because just, again, comparing, I was looking at some of the other districts and, you know, they have great plans too, and they're 100% at least for the individual employee. So I definitely don't, $30 can be a lot of money for somebody, and especially with retirement, you know, it keeps increasing. And this is obviously, again, I know you guys did your due diligence and work, but if we can move forward with looking and exploring possible options, and maybe this is the best one still that everyone wants, but I think it's at least worth looking at it.
absolutely.
One of the things I was saying, I could be wrong, so Eric and Mike,
Yeah.
when I first got to the district, I had asked about our insurance, and we go through Blue Cross Blue Shield as our, I say our coverage provider, but I think, did we sign, I thought, like a 10-year, was it like a 10-year agreement with them?
Yes.
Okay. So normally, I was like, wow,
Yeah.
some districts, which you say they do 3 years, and so that when it comes up 3 years, you go and then you negotiate and see what is competitive process. In my previous, that we were doing that.
Yeah.
But I have seen, and I could talk, I would challenge us to go and look at it, but most districts, they have pay where employees don't, but even in the bigger districts, they have passed some of the costs, so it's if it's not this 3 years, then it's the next 3 years where they pull up the cost because insurance costs just keeps going up. So in some years, you could see, yeah, there was no cost to employees, but the district still paid that portion. And then the next year, they do increases like this to offset that cost because the cost keeps.
Yeah. And Ms. Trejo, our consultants that we work with, this isn't a new conversation. They've been recommending for the last 6, 7, 8 years that we need to start looking at this. And so I hate the expression kick the can because that's not what we did. We were trying to honor our employees. We did honor our employees. And so it's just now when you look at the combination of the claims and what we have, this is what we have to do. So we had a lot of very difficult conversations around it because it's also something that we have to communicate out to our staff. And that's another element of it. We have to, this is the first time that we'll have to say, we don't have that free plan option. So.
Well, I would actually say we do have.
Oh, sorry, we have the.
Yes, we do.
We don't have two free plans.
That's right.
So we still have the free plan, like I'm on the free plan.
Yes.
That is not changing. So we still have so you have the HSA plan, the mid plan, and the high plan.
Right.
And so we had two free plans.
The saver and the low PPO plan.
And you know, per the consultants, they're like, yeah, there's not a lot of districts that have two free plans. Like you would have the one. So we still have that, and that's still no cost to the employee at all. In fact, we'll give them $800 to put into their HSA account for the HSA plan. So no money, they make $800. They get $800 for it. So it's still a free option that we do have there.
Thank you. That is helpful, but Dr. Driscoll and Mike and Eric, is that something we can explore for next year to at least bring back quotes to see, like, and that our IBN team can look at as well with our insurance group?
We'll reach out to our consultants tomorrow.
So, thank you.
Definitely.
Mr. Lemon?
Yeah, when the board made the decision to become self-insured for this, then we looked at how do we manage this, and I think our business office said, we can't manage this. That's why we hired Blue Cross and Blue Shield to manage these claims for us from that standpoint. And that's why we also have a consultant from that standpoint. And I think in the first probably 5-6 years of the program, we saved millions of dollars that we turned back into other parts of our budget. That's slowly been going down, and I served on that committee until I was elected to the board a couple of years ago, and so it's been one of the success stories. But as people get older and health costs go up, then it makes sense to take another look at that. But it's still, when we're comparing against other plans, we need to make sure that we're comparing apples to apples and not, you know, an orange and a peach. And I think that's my concern with, I think we can take a look at it from the 30,000 foot elevation and then look at the trend that's happening, particularly as we have student enrollment going down, and we'll have some employee enrollment going down, but we won't have the money. So it's not a good scenario. You know, there's no sweet spot. There's some difficult ones. And so I guess.
And we've been losing money in the insurance trust fund for the last few years.
Right.
And as you said, we had some good years and we built up a surplus in the reserves, and we're spending that down now. You know, I think we were up to about 8 million a few years ago, and we're down to 6. We have a lot of money in the bank, if you will, but we can't continue at the rate that we're going without changes.
And Madam President, as I recall, it's probably about $1 million a year that we're taking out of the reserve. Is that a good estimate? Somewhere in there between 700.
I think it was about $1 million last year.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Somewhere in that range. And of course, when we built it up, I think we got over 10 million, and which was significant. But now we're at that point, and so I think Ms. Trejo brings up some good suggestions. Let's take another look at this and see where we're at, and see if we need to make some recommendations to get out of the self-insurance business or ride the wave with everybody else. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Lynn. Mr. Miller? Okay. All right, I have a few questions. First of all, I was wanting to know, is the expenditures for the low plan and the high plan, is that, I'm assuming per paycheck, right? Not per month? Or is that per month?
Per month.
Per month, okay.
So it'd be $30 a month for the low plan.
Yeah. So just a little sidebar, I remember the first couple of years that I was a mother, young mother, and my paycheck bumped up by like 20, 30 bucks, so much that I didn't really notice it. Payroll caught it right before Christmas, and I had to pay it all back before Christmas, and man, did that little $15 to $20, $30 just make a huge dent in what we could do as a family. So I totally understand. I lived through that twice where we didn't have quite enough, and it was overwhelming. So I understand where some people would scoff at 30 bucks, but that's a big deal. So I wanted to know, when you were explaining that there still is a free plan, for next year, there will still be a free plan.
Yes.
Okay, because the way it's written, it just says low plan, high plan, so it doesn't show that there's a free plan on the board docs. That at least I'm not understanding how it's
The
written.
description in the agenda doesn't show
So it
that.
would be the HSA plan. Is there HSA high deductible?
Oh, the decrease.
So it just says decrease the employer HSA saver contribution from 1,000 to 800.
Yep. So still no monthly premium from the employee on that at all. It's changing from, we've been giving $1,000 in the past, we'll give you 800. So there's still the free plan available.
Okay, that's a big, yeah, that would be great to have that written on there. All right, and then, so if we sign up in 13-14 for this 10-year commitment, so we're looking at 23-24, right? Or did you say 14-15?
I think it was
Started in
2006. Yeah, I think there's a few more years left.
So we're locked into that contract, right? From
That's the phone call that we're going to make tomorrow,
okay,
based on this conversation.
okay,
We'll explore all of that.
great. And then my last question is, next year, can we, if the meeting took place in March, can we look at having this on the agenda in April of next year? Gives us a little bit longer, gives our employees some more time to digest what they need to do for whatever increase or decrease to their life, right? Okay. All right. Dr. Driscoll.
So I just want to make sure I'm clear before you guys vote. Are you wanting us, Ms. Trejo, to go back to the board, go back and look at these options and present them to you before you guys would vote on this? Or are you saying vote on this and then present you guys options for the next, which would be the 24-25 school year?
Yeah, I would say just because of time, the latter, but for that reason, that's why we should have these conversations sooner after they approve that insurance company. That's why, if it was in March 3rd, then we should have probably had the conversation in March, or April. So yeah, I would say that if we can get this information as soon as possible, and if, you know, if there is something that's even great that we can start sooner, is that something that we can revise even possibly this year or no?
Yeah.
Okay, that's, I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
As far as timing, if I may, I think part of why the lag is in years past, everything coincides with the IBN process.
Oh, okay.
And so we typically present it with IBN. This year, we're delayed on that because of negotiations and not having a state budget, it's later. That's why.
Okay.
But yes, we absolutely can. It's just in years past, it always came together.
That makes sense. Thank you. Definitely want input from everybody.
Yep.
Yeah.
I actually did have one other question. So this came out of the tri-district committee. Have all three, or minus us, have the other two districts approved this?
It is
No.
not tri-district.
It's not, that's not the
No, this
tri-district
is
insurance?
this is separate. That's the,
That's the insurance. the-
457.
the
Oh, I
message.
apologize.
Yeah.
Deferred
Okay, right.
compensation.
Okay, then never mind.
Yep.
Strike that one. Okay, any other questions, comments, input from the district leadership team?
Thank you.
All right, so do we have a motion on 501?
Madam President, I make a motion to approve the recommendations that's presented.
Awesome.
Okay, moved by Mr. Lemon as written and seconded by Ms. Trejo. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, item passes 4-0. Item 601, meeting adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn this meeting so we can go to the retirement party?
Madam President, I make the motion to adjourn the meeting to go enjoy the retirement party.
I'll second.
Moved by Mr. Miller and seconded by Ms. Trejo. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item passes 4-0 and meeting is adjourned.